Happening today, rapper Pooh Shiesty is expected in a Dallas federal court. His real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., and he's accused of setting up
#1 draft pick if it was the NBA.
And he's accused of setting up a plan to rob and kidnap fellow rapper Gucci Mane at a Dallas studio.
A rapper gets out of federal prison after 3 years. Within 90 days, he drops a track that climbs to number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. The whole city is lit. Labels are calling. Money is moving. And then he's back in prison. Not for drugs. Not for a gun. He goes back because he allegedly kidnapped his own label boss at gunpoint and forced him to sign paperwork releasing him from his deal. This isn't a movie plot. This actually went down in 2026. And the man at the center of it, Pooh Shiesty, didn't just wake up and make that call. What happened was the result of a long, quiet war between two of the biggest rap bosses in the South, Gucci, Mane, and Yo Gotti, battling over the same city, the same artist, and the same money, Memphis. And here's the part most people aren't really focusing on. That Cold War turned Memphis into one of the most valuable territories in rap. Deals were coming out of that city from every angle. Kids rapping in school cafeterias were landing deals with Atlantic Records. Cousins were getting signed together. Labels were stacking Memphis talent like assets. And somebody was bound to lose. Stay locked in, because before we even get to the kidnapping, the federal cases, the deaths, and the money, we have to go back to where all of this really began. And it started with a release date. Here's what you need to understand first. Memphis rap has always been its own lane. Always. The city created a sound raw, heavy, straight from the streets that never needed outside approval. 3 6 Mafia did it independently. Yo Gotti built a whole empire from Fraser, one of the toughest areas in the country, long before major labels paid attention. Memphis always had talent. What it lacked was structure, labels, systems, big deals. That started changing in the 2000s. Yo Gotti built Collective Music Group, CMG, from the ground up. It started as his own outlet to drop music, but it grew into something much bigger. He was signing Memphis artists, developing them, and pushing them onto the national stage. For the first time, Memphis had a real power player who could cut checks. But then Gucci Mane, who isn't even from Memphis, he's from Bessemer, Alabama, and built his name in Atlanta, decided he wanted in on Memphis too. And when Gucci wants something, he moves fast. He came back after his 2017 prison bid, focused and hungry, and started picking up Memphis talent one by one. Now you've got two of the strongest independent label bosses in Southern rap, both tied into major distribution, both with money, both with street credibility, and both chasing the same pool of artists. The ones in the middle, they're seeing offers they've never imagined before. This is what happens when a city turns into a bidding war, and this story gets wild from start to finish. Let's rewind to where the tension between Gucci Mane and Yo Gotti really started, because a lot of people miss this part, and it matters. These two weren't always enemies. They were cool. They talked. They made music together. Gucci was even on the remix to Gotti's 5-Star Chick back in 2009. They moved in similar circles. Same Southern rap grind. Same legal struggles. Same label-building mindset. From the outside, they looked like peers who respected each other. But here's where things shifted. The issue started over a date, October 17th. For Gucci Mane, that date means everything. 1017 is his brand, his label, his identity. It's tied to the day he married his wife, Keisha Kawar. It's part of his entire image. So when Gucci announced he was dropping a project on October 17th, that date carried real weight. At the same time, Yo Gotti was preparing to release Cocaine Music 7, another installment in his CMG series, on that exact same day. Gotti later said he didn't even realize the overlap at first. And when he did, his mindset was simple. 2 artists dropping on the same day? We both win. But Gucci didn't see it like that. Not even close. From Gucci's perspective, Gotti was stepping on his brand, using the 1017 date to ride his wave. In his eyes, that date was personal. It represented him, so someone else dropping, especially someone in his lane, felt like a direct shot. Whether Gotti meant it that way didn't even matter. Out of respect, Gotti pushed his release back one day to October 18th.
He thought that would settle it. It didn't. The tension only grew. Gucci started taking subtle shots publicly. And Gotti, who came up in the Ridgecrest apartments in Fraser, who's been outside since he was a kid, wasn't about to ignore it forever. Eventually, he responded. Just like that, things went from cool to cold. And then it turned territorial. This is when Gucci made his first serious move on Memphis. Reports started circulating that he was looking to sign OG Boo Dirty, a Memphis rapper who had a long, very real beef with Yo Gotti. Back in 2010, during Thanksgiving weekend at Level 2 nightclub in Memphis, an altercation involving Gotti and Boo Dirty ended with 6 people getting shot in the parking lot. Both were questioned. Neither was charged. But the tension between them, that was real. So when Gucci started moving toward Boo Dirty, Gotti's known rival, in Gotti's own city, that wasn't random. That was strategic. That was a message. I'm stepping into your city. I'm signing your opposition. Let's see what happens. Around that same time, there were also talks that Gucci had his eye on another young Memphis name, Young Dolph. It never fully turned into a deal back then, but the interest was there. Gucci was scouting Memphis like a system, not guessing very calculated. Meanwhile, Gotti kept building CMG. He kept signing talent, expanding his roster. For a while, both sides were moving at the same time, growing, succeeding, occasionally crossing paths, but always with that quiet tension underneath. The real explosion hadn't happened yet, and when it did, it came through one artist neither side could ignore. Let's talk about Pooh Shiesty. Before we get into the deals and everything that followed, you need to understand who he really is, because his background explains a lot. His real name is Lontrell Donnell Williams Jr., born November 8th, 1999. He's from South Memphis, Tennessee, the Magnolia area, one of the roughest parts of the city. His nickname Pooh came from his late brother. Shiesty came from street slang, reflecting how he carried himself. He wasn't hiding anything about his lifestyle. But here's something people don't always mention. He didn't just randomly fall into rap. His father ran Mob Ties Records, a local Memphis label, and performed under the name Mob Boss. Pooh was around music early, like 8 or 10 years old, watching studio sessions, learning setups, going to shows with his dad. This wasn't new to him. It was already part of his world. He spent some time living in Pflugerville, Texas with his mom, then came back to Memphis, finished school through summer classes and online work. And by 18, he was fully focused on music. He started his own group, Choppa Gang Entertainment. His first single, Hell Night, dropped in March 2019, featuring his close associate, Big 30. That partnership would become important later. The next records, Choppa Talk, Day One, Shiesty Summer were building momentum. Local buzz was growing, but things really shifted in May 2020 when he dropped a remix to Main Slime with Moneybagg Yo and Tay Keith, 2 major Memphis names. That's when the industry started paying serious attention. At that point, expectations were clear. He was being seen as the next face of Memphis rap. Naturally, people assumed he'd signed to CMG with Yo Gotti or Paper Route Empire, Young Dolph's label. That was the usual path for Memphis artists. Pooh Shiesty didn't follow that path. On April 10th, 2020, Gucci Mane reached out to him directly on Instagram, literally DM'd him, told him he liked his music and asked if he was signed. Pooh said he was independent, sent his number, and within weeks, he had a deal with 1,017 records through Atlantic. Think about how that looks from Yo Gotti's side. The hottest young artist coming out of your city, the one you've been building for years, just signed to your rival's label. Not a random label, Gucci Mane's 1017. That wasn't just a signing, that was a statement. Whether Gucci planned it like that or not, the message was clear. He stepped into Memphis and secured the prize. But he didn't stop there. Not even close. After signing Pooh, Gucci basically turned 1017 into a Memphis-heavy operation. In 2020, he rebranded it as the new 1017 and started adding artists back to back like he was assembling a team, and most of them had ties to Memphis. Let's break it down. Foogiano, same wave as Pooh, signed in 2020. Real name, Rodarius Green, connected to Memphis Energy, dropped his debut project, Gutta Baby, that same year. It featured Pooh and Gucci. The single, Molly, Baby Mama, gained traction. Everything looked like it was lining up. Then he got arrested in December 2020 on a gun charge. With a prior felony, that situation got serious fast. He was sentenced to 5 years in 2021, and then things got worse. While on home detention, he cut off his ankle monitor and went on the run. That added even more time after he got caught. Just like that, a promising run collapsed before it really began. Then there's Big Scarr, and this one hits different. Alexander Woods, from South Memphis, same Magnolia area as Pooh Shiesty. They were actually cousins. He grew up with his grandmother until she passed when he was 13. At 16, he survived a serious car crash that left scars on his face. That's where the name came from. He didn't even plan to rap at first. A friend pushed him into it. His first track, Make a Play in 2019, cost him $20 to record, $200 for the video, and it pulled 50,000 views. That's when he realized it could go somewhere. Gucci signed him in 2020. Pooh was the connection. He appeared on So Icy Summer, then dropped Soicy Boys with Pooh, Foogiano, and Tay Keith. The track went gold, then came part 2 and 3. His debut mixtape Big Grim Reaper dropped in April 2021 and debuted at number 25 on the Billboard 222,000 first week. That's major for a Memphis artist. But on December 22nd, 2022, Big Scarr died from a drug overdose at just 22 years old. Pooh was already locked up. Gucci confirmed it online. Just like that, another rising voice out of Memphis was gone. Enchanting different lane, more of a singer than a rapper, which made her stand out on the 1017 roster. She signed to Gucci in 2020 as well, appeared on the So Icy Summer compilation, and dropped her debut single, No Love, featuring Big Scarr and K. Shide, among others. She was building momentum, and then she also passed away unexpectedly in 2024. Two artists from that same 1017 class, both gone before 25. Quez Ruthless, Hot Boy Wes, Bicey Fizzle, and others were all signed to 1017 during this same stretch. The label went from a small lineup to a full roster almost overnight. Gucci dropped compilation projects. So Icy Summer in July 2020, then So Icy Gang Volume, 1-inch October 2020. Followed by more releases, basically introducing the entire roster to the world. It felt like a launchpad designed to push multiple artists at once. Here's how an insider described Gucci's run during that time, and this explains why his cosign meant so much. Gucci got fingerprints on everybody. Migos, Thug, Nicki Minaj, Waka Flocka. Now you got Pooh Shiesty, Big Scarr, Foogiano, Enchanting, Big Walk Dog, Bicey Fizzle. He knows what he's doing. That was the reputation. Gucci wasn't just a rapper with a label. He was known for developing talent. Young Thug came up under him. Migos got early exposure through him. Chief Keef had a run with 1017. If Gucci signed you, people assumed you were next. For a young Memphis artist with nothing but talent and a phone, getting a DM from Gucci Mane could change your life overnight. But here's what people weren't saying openly. Gucci wasn't only signing Memphis artists because he believed in them. He was also doing it because Yo Gotti had Memphis locked in. And every signing sent a message. Now let's look at what Yo Gotti was building on his side, because it would be a mistake to think Gucci was just running away with it. Gotti founded Collective Music Group, CMG, in 2012 originally, Cocaine Music Group, named after his mixtape series. From day one, it was rooted in Memphis. He didn't bring in talent from other cities, he built from home. And the results speak loud. Look at the CMG roster. Moneybagg Yo is the perfect starting point. Gotti signed him in 2016, and it wasn't flashy at first. Moneybagg was grinding, dropping mixtapes, sharpening his sound. Gotti stayed patient, helped him build. By 2021, Moneybagg Yo was one of the biggest names in hip-hop. His album, A Gangsta's Pain, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, sold out arenas, massive streams, top-tier numbers. That was a long-term investment that paid off big. Black Youngsta came in 2015, around the time his track Heavy started buzzing. Pure Memphis energy, loud, chaotic, authentic. He became a core piece of CMG and a consistent earner. He also had his own history with Young Dolph, a rivalry that mirrored the bigger Gucci Gotti tension, two sides, same city, real consequences beyond music. Blockboy JB joined CMG in 2018. His hit Look Alive with Drake had already taken off, putting him on the national stage. Gotti brought him into CMG and kept his roots tied to Memphis while his popularity grew.
Then came 42 Doug. In 2019, CMG partnered with Lil Baby's 4PF to sign him. That move showed CMG was expanding beyond Memphis. It wasn't just local anymore, it was becoming a major operation, pulling talent from everywhere. Big Boogie signed in 2020, right in the middle of the 1017 wave. Another Memphis artist with a real street background, building a loyal fan base. His track Mental Healing crossed 100 million streams. Not always in the spotlight, but one of CMG's most solid success stories. And then Glorilla. In July 2022, Gotti signed her, and this changed everything. Born Gloria Hallelujah Woods from North Memphis, she had been grinding with little attention until FNF, Let's Go, exploded online. The record went viral, got a Cardi B remix, hit the Billboard charts, and suddenly she was everywhere. Gotti called her a natural star with a unique sound. He wasn't wrong. She became Grammy nominated and one of the most recognizable new faces in the game, all through CMG. By 2021, Gotti also secured a distribution deal with Interscope Records. That took CMG from a strong independent label to a full-scale major operation with global reach. So, now look at the bigger picture. On one side, you have Gucci Mane's 1017, backed by Atlantic, with artists like Pooh, Shiesty, Big Scarr, Foogiano, and Enchanting. On the other, Yo Gotti CMG, backed by Interscope, with Moneybagg Yo, Black Youngsta, Blockboy, JB, Big Boogie, and Glorilla. Two powerful camps, one city. Every new Memphis artist coming up had to make a choice, pick a side, stay neutral, or try to move between both without getting caught in the middle. That's what made Memphis so intense during this era. Deals were everywhere. Labels were watching every performance, every viral clip, every SoundCloud drop. Artists who had nothing a year before were suddenly in six-figure conversations. The competition turned Memphis into a gold rush, and the artists were the gold. Now let's focus on what Pooh Shiesty's deal with 1017 was supposed to become, because before everything went left, the trajectory was serious. His debut mixtape, Shiesty Season, dropped in February 2021 and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Number 3. A kid from South Memphis who once spent $20 on a song, now sitting near the top of the biggest chart in the country. The singles were hitting. Back in Blood with Lil Durk peaked at number 13 and went platinum in 4 months. The video became a tribute to King Von and pulled nearly 400 million views. He was also on the Beatbox remix, which hit number 12. Back-to-back top 20 records. He made the 20XL freshman class of 2021, landed on Rolling Stone's Breakthrough 25, stayed on Pandora's Trendsetter chart for over 20 weeks. Everything pointed to him being the next major star out of Memphis, the kind of artist built for a long run, not just a moment. But at the same time, things were building behind the scenes. In October 2020, before Shiesty Season even dropped, he was arrested in connection to a shooting in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, facing charges like armed robbery and aggravated assault. He still managed to release the project, but the case was hanging over him. In June 2021, another incident, a strip club shooting in Miami. He was held without bond. Then the federal case came together. He eventually pled guilty to firearms conspiracy tied to violent crimes. On the 29th of April, 2022, he was sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. At 22 years old, just months after hitting number 3 on the Billboard 200, it wasn't supposed to end like that, but it paused everything. Momentum stopped, growth delayed. 1017 was now in a tough spot. Pooh was locked up, Foogiano was locked up, Big Scarr was still active, Enchanting was developing, but the wave was already slowing. By 2022, cracks were showing. Then Big Scarr passed, and things shifted even more. By late 2024, Gucci Mane took a hard look at his label's numbers. What he saw led to a major decision. He went live and said, "When I look at my profits and losses, I think I'm going to have to release almost all my artists, except Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano." He dropped nearly the entire roster. Everyone from that new 1017 run gone, except the 2 artists who were still in prison. From a business angle, it was about the future. Pooh Shiesty was expected home in October 2025. Gucci believed his return would be huge, and he was right. Why let go of your biggest asset right before he walks out? So he kept Pooh, kept Foogiano, let everyone else go. Clean slate, preparing for the comeback. But one thing he may not have fully considered what Pooh Shiesty himself wanted. October 6th, 2025, Pooh Shiesty walks out of federal prison after about 3 years. He's 25, still has his fan base, still has Memphis behind him. The industry was waiting. The comeback didn't take long. December 12th, 2025, he drops FDO. It debuts at number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100, then climbs to number 12.
Right back where he left off. His first solo Hot 100 entry, and it lands in the top 15. The hunger was there. The sound was still sharp. Memphis was riding with him again. Everything pointed to a huge 2026. And then quietly, Yo Gotti made his move. Early 2026, CMG approached Pooh Shiesty with a serious offer. This wasn't small talk. This was a real play for one of the most valuable names in rap. They had the blueprint, Moneybagg Yo. They had recent success, Glorilla. CMG was hot. structured, and proven. The pitch was simple. Come back home. Come to the label that's already built the system. Actually winning at that moment. Come to Gotti. That was the pitch. The problem? Pooh Shiesty was still signed to 1017, and Gucci Mane, the same man who kept him on the roster strictly because he believed in his comeback, who chose not to drop him even when it made business sense, who watched most of his 1017 artists either pass away, go to prison, or get released, wasn't about to let his biggest asset walk. What should have stayed a business situation, a contract discussion handled by lawyers, turned into something nobody in rap had really seen before. January 10th, 2026, Dallas, Texas. A meeting gets set up at a recording studio. On the surface, it's business. Conversations about Pooh Shiesty's contract, his status with 1017. What happens next? The kind of meeting that happens all the time, even when things are tense. Gucci Mane shows up. According to federal prosecutors, Pooh Shiesty shows up too, along with 8 other men. What happened next is laid out in federal charging documents from the Department of Justice. Pooh Shiesty, real name Lontrell Williams Jr., and his co-defendants allegedly carried out what prosecutors describe as an armed takeover of the studio. Gucci Mane and 2 others were held at gunpoint. The documents claim Pooh Shiesty pointed an AK-style pistol directly at Gucci. Big 30, his longtime collaborator, the same artist from Hell Night back in 2019, allegedly blocked the door so nobody could leave. Then, at gunpoint, Gucci Mane was forced to sign paperwork releasing Pooh Shiesty from his contract. After that, prosecutors say the group took money and jewelry before leaving. And here's a detail that makes it even more serious. Pooh Shiesty's father, Lontrell Williams Sr., was also there. The same man who started Mob Ties Records, who introduced him to music as a kid, father and son, inside a Dallas studio, involved in a contract dispute that turned into a federal case. Another key detail: Pooh Shiesty was on home detention at the time. He had an ankle monitor. He had just been released from federal prison 3 months earlier. He was under supervision, and still, he allegedly traveled from Memphis to Dallas while being GPS tracked. On April 2nd, 2026, federal arrests hit multiple cities at once: Memphis, Dallas, Nashville, Atlanta. 9 people were taken into custody. Pooh Shiesty, Big 30, his father, and 6 others: Kadarius Waters, Cord Johnson, DeMarcus Glover, De'Aaron Gibson, Darian McDaniel, and Terrence Rogers. The charges? Federal kidnapping, carrying the possibility of life in prison. Gucci Mane, real name Radrick Davis, had already survived decades in a volatile industry, street conflicts, prison time, rebuilding his career multiple times. He built 1017 into a recognized platform, and now, according to prosecutors, one of his own artists put a weapon on him over a contract dispute. Shortly after, Gucci responded publicly. He announced he was releasing the remaining 1017 roster. Said he contacted artists and their lawyers, telling them they were free to move on. At the same time, he made it clear he was looking to sign new talent. That's how he operates: reset and rebuild. The federal case against Pooh Shiesty is serious. Kidnapping at the federal level isn't minor. It's one of the most severe charges in the system. Prosecutors push for detention without bond, arguing the severity of the charges, the use of firearms, and the flight risk. His attorney, John Helms, responded by saying the situation is more complex than what's being presented. He didn't deny the meeting or the dispute, but claimed the government's version simplifies what actually happened. Still, the evidence outlined is direct. GPS data places Pooh in Dallas that day. The documents list weapons, participants, and specific actions. 8 co-defendants. One of them his father. For Big 30, this situation is just as damaging. His career has been tied closely to Pooh Shiesty from the beginning. Their chemistry, their records, they built momentum together. Now they're facing a federal case together.
Back in Memphis, reactions have been mixed. Pooh Shiesty still has strong support. People who watched him rise, who relate to his story, who celebrated his release in 2025. That loyalty is real. But even supporters struggle with what allegedly happened in Dallas. A contract dispute. For Gucci Mane, the aftermath is clear. He lost his top artist, not to another label, not to industry politics, but to federal charges. And on top of that, he was directly affected by the situation. Once again, 1017 resets. From the Memphis artists he invested in: Pooh, Shiesty, Foogiano, Big Scarr. Enchanting the outcomes are heavy. Some gone, some incarcerated, some facing serious time. For Gotti, things are different. CMG made the offer that reportedly set everything in motion. Whether anyone expected things to escalate like this, that's unclear. But the competition for Memphis talent was real, and the pressure around those decisions was just as real. And that's what this whole situation shows. Between 2020 and 2022, Memphis became one of the most valuable hubs in rap. Two major independent forces competing for the same talent pool. Artists who had been grinding for years suddenly had real money, real deals, real opportunities. That competition created openings. Moneybagg Yo's rise, Glorilla's breakout, Big Scarr's moment, those are real outcomes. The industry brought attention, resources, and money into a city that hadn't always had access to that level of support. But it also showed the limits of those deals. Foogiano had the platform and lost it. Pooh Shiesty had a major comeback lined up and is now facing a federal case. Big Scarr had success, but didn't live to fully realize it. The deals were real, but they didn't remove the pressures or the environment these artists came from. A contract doesn't stop real-life situations. Industry success doesn't pause outside conflicts. And decisions made in certain moments don't always factor in career momentum or chart success. What this era really represents is a group of talented artists from one of the toughest cities in the country getting a real shot, and how quickly some of those opportunities can shift. Memphis, as a city, is still producing talent at a high level. That hasn't changed. The influence is there, the sound is there, the success stories are real. But this situation highlights how fast the industry can move and how much can be left behind when it does. Gucci Mane built quickly, signed aggressively, and created a wave. But when results didn't align, he adjusted. That's business. Yo Gotti built differently, slower, rooted, connected directly to the city. His artists developed over time within a structure that stayed consistent. That difference matters. Now in 2026, the situation stands like this. Pooh Shiesty, federal custody, facing serious charges, career uncertain. Big 30 also in custody, career on pause. Foogiano still serving time. Big Scarr gone. Enchanting gone. Gucci Mane resetting again. Building 1017 forward. Yo Gotti CMG stable. Expanding. Still active at a high level. And at the center of it all, a contract dispute that turned into one of the most unexpected situations the industry has seen in years. The bigger picture? This was never just about music. It was about control. About who runs the pipeline for Memphis talent. Who builds the stars? Who benefits when those artists break into the mainstream? Gucci made a strong push into Memphis. For a moment, it worked. Pooh Shiesty's success proved that. But the wave didn't last. Gotti stayed steady, and that consistency kept CMG in position. And in the middle of everything, one of the most promising artists of his generation is now dealing with consequences that go far beyond music. That's the reality of it. And the story? It's still unfolding.